They'd been hearing them for 10 minutes already. Not the distant growl of storm, not the low animal sound of shifting ice, but a steady chopping thunder that came in waves across the white. Kira stood in the lee of McMurdo's broken gantry, visor tilted to the sky, watching the clouds bruise and thin in patches as the sound drew closer. Could still be it, Nico said quietly at her shoulder, the way it faked them before. Lang, floodlights, soldiers that moved like drills instead of men. The last time they'd heard helicopters, they'd watched a dead crewmate carried out through a door the logs pretended had never opened. I know, Kira said. The wind was wrong for an echo. It carried the rotor beat clean, punching through the murk in solid thumps she felt through her boots. Snow shivered off the wrecked antenna mast in fine streams. Cass shifted her weight, teeth clenched against her bandaged arm. If it's them again, we run. Where? Ro asked. He nodded toward the black glass cracks webbing the snowfield, seams of something not ice, faintly glowing from below. Down? Or back to a base we already turned into a crater? Cass didn't answer. Her breath fogged her visor, thin and fast. Volkov checked the analog meter on her wrist. The seismic lines twitched, then steadied into a new pattern. Whatever's under us is reacting. It hears them too. The sound grew until it became a physical thing, pushing the air ahead of it. The clouds tore open, and the first helicopter punched through. It was wrong and right at the same time. Too bulky to be what Echo's feeds had shown. Armored, angular, the rotors chewed the air, downdraft kicking snow into spirals that struck their visors with real force. No flicker, no seam. More helicopters followed, lights strobing through the haze, painting the dead station in pulses. Triplets, Nico muttered. Kira's hand closed around the flare at her belt. We hold, Kira said. We don't wave, we don't run. We see who steps out. The lead helicopter dropped on the broken apron. Hot, oily wind slammed into them, reeking of fuel and metal. Real, her body insisted, even as her mind waited for the lie. The side door opened. Men spilled out in matte armor, faces hidden, movements tired and efficient. Not the smooth fakes from Echo's raid. These were human in the way exhaustion always is. A hand lifted, palm out. Identify yourselves. Kira stepped forward, hands open. Echo Point Station, Commander Kira North. This is my crew. A pause, then North, copy. No surprise in the voice. That scared her more than disbelief would have. Another figure dropped down, slower, unmasked. Frost rimmed his hood, beard graying, eyes sharp. Colonel Avery Shaw, Joint Response Task Force. You're a long way from the last satellite picture left you. Something in Kira's chest loosened. Coffee, wool, bad sleep. Human. As the world goes quiet and something down here screams loud enough to trip every dead listening post, people notice. Your transmission came with company. He gestured toward the dark veins around the dome. That lit up everything we have. We were airborne 4 hours ago. 4 hours, Nico said. We cut corners. A case was brought forward. Shaw opened it with care. A rugged tablet glowed inside. Volkov stepped closer. That's Hero's encoding. Hero 4 relay. 1 burst, 12 hours ago. The file pulsed. H4, last, priority. Kira swallowed. Play it. The audio was thin but human. This is Dr. Samira Holt at Hero 4. We've confirmed non-atmospheric origin for the anomaly. It uses water as a carrier, ice, soil moisture, us. It learns structures, then replicates. Wind howled beneath her words. We tried a localized EMP. It adapted, shifted mass outside our target envelope. If you're hearing this, you're behind it already. Cass' hands tightened. We go to draw it under the shelf. If we can make it heavy enough, close enough to the waterline, maybe it drowns the way we do. A broken laugh. If we fail, don't come here. Don't bring it anything to climb. The audio doubled. We. Shaw killed the playback. That wasn't an echo, Volkov said. It was it, talking through her. Why come here, Kira asked Shaw, if you know what it does to infrastructure? Because your echo fire made it mobile, and because Harrow's plan didn't work. We can't let it walk north. With guns? Nico asked. Hydro-reclamation tech, never finished. Turns out you can pull water out of more than cities. Beneath their boots, the hum deepened. Volkov's meter jumped. It's moving. A crack split the snowfield 20 meters out, then another. The lines crossed. The ice burst. Something rose, slow, nauseating, a sheet of not ice, veins glowing pale, the air frosting around it. The nearest Marine froze mid-step as ice raced up his legs. Fire, Shaw shouted. A cleared jet struck the thing. The effect was immediate and brief. Light died where it hit. Steam tore free. The mass recoiled. That's a hit, Nico said. Then the light rerouted. The dead patch sealed. The mass flowed. Ice climbed the Marine again before anyone could reach him. They dragged him free, but his legs came with him wrong, encased in something grown, not frozen. The thing pulled back, fracturing, reconfiguring. The hum underfoot deepened. We're not stopping it, Volkov said. We're irritating it. We buy time, Shaw said. Cracks spread outward now, sketching a direction. Northeast. Harrow 4, Cass said. Kira looked at the wounded man, the reforming mass, the helicopters crouching on the ice. You have lift? Shaw asked. Enough. After that, gravity does the rest. The engines spooled higher behind them. Ahead, the ice shifted, listening. Last stand, Nico muttered. Rose squeezed Cass's uninjured shoulder. Let's make it count. The cracks ahead closed into a single dark seam, pointing northeast. The storm followed.
Chapter 36. Convergence. The flight northeast was short, violent, and far too quiet. The helicopter skimmed low over the ice, engines throttled back to a muted profile, as if even the pilots were afraid of waking something beneath them. Shadows stretched ahead like black spears across the snow. Inside the cabin, breath misted in slow plumes. Nobody spoke. The wounded Marine lay strapped to a stretcher, legs encased in clear frost crystal that crackled softly whenever the aircraft banked. The ice was still creeping, millimeter by millimeter, despite the heat pack strapped to him. The medic watched it happen and said nothing. Cass sat between Ro and Nico, clutching her injured arm. Every shudder of the helicopter pulled a sharp breath from her. Ro pretended not to notice, though his hand hovered close enough that she could choose it if she wanted. She didn't. Not yet. Kira watched them all, helmet off, sweat freezing at her temples. Her mind ran through protocols on reflex, discarding each one. There was no manual for architecture that learned as you fought it. Shaw crouched near the open side door, listening through his earpiece. His posture wasn't command-ready. It was accounting, adjusting losses, waiting for the next variable. "Harrow shelf in 2 minutes," the pilot called. Volkov leaned toward the window, notebook trembling on her knee. "The seismic pattern isn't dispersing, it's tracking us." "Good," Shaw said. "We want it committed." "Not that committed," Nico muttered. The helicopter dipped, and the world fell away. Harrow 4, or what remained of it. The shelf looked hollowed from below, plates of ice tilted at wrong angles, cracks spiraling outward, glowing faintly with the same light they'd seen under McMurdo. "It didn't break this place," Volkov said. "It mapped it." The helicopters dropped into a sheltered wedge between towering slabs. Marines were already moving as the skids touched down, spreading into a tight perimeter. Weapons hummed. Cold knifed into Kira's lungs the moment her boots hit the ice. "Holt's coordinates are east, 2 clicks." "Her last stand," Nico said. Ro elbowed him hard. Nico shut up. The third helicopter settled behind them.
The snow beneath it lifted, not from downdraft, but from below. Kira felt it before she saw it. She turned her head slightly. "Colonel." Shaw followed her gaze. His jaw tightened. "Hold positions." Silence pressed down, thick enough to hurt. Then the ice split. Darkness opened, threaded with light. Shapes rose, thin at first, then thickening, unfolding into structures that didn't repeat themselves twice. Kira didn't stare. She said only, "That's faster than McMurdo." "Line them up," Shaw snapped. Weapons came alive. The first contact was brutal and brief. Blasts tore holes through alien geometry, freezing and shattering sections of it, only for the light inside to reroute, edges hardening, movement sharpening. "They're learning," Volkov shouted. "Faster this time." The ice answered with screams. A Marine went down, frozen mid-step. Another was dragged free, missing more than armor. Fractures spread outward, each new crack another invitation. Rowe leaned close to Kira. "We're not holding." "No," Kira said. "We're not supposed to." The ground shook again, deeper this time. Volkov's pencil snapped. "That's not the core. It's a pathway. It's leading mass toward the waterline." "Exactly what Holt tried," Nico said. Kira looked back to Shaw. "If it commits here, the shelf won't carry it." Shaw didn't hesitate. "Prepare to fall back." Around them, alien forms surged, broke, reformed. Marines fired in staggered patterns, buying meters, not ground. "This place is a death spiral," Rowe said. "If we stay, it swallows us." Kira nodded once. "Then we make it follow." Shaw raised his voice. "Fall back. Controlled retreat now." They moved under fire, pulling wounded, abandoning gear. Kira dragged Cass toward the nearest helicopter as something lashed the ice behind them, carving a trench where they'd been seconds before. The last barrier went down in a storm of white. A structure rose to full height behind them. Kira's voice cut through the noise. "Colonel, now. Delta 2, full burn." The structure shattered under the blast, fragments evaporating into mist. "For now," Shaw muttered. The helicopters lifted hard, rotors screaming. Kira looked down as they rose. The Harrow field was moving. Alien geometry flowed toward the shelf edge from every direction, drawn into a single vector, toward Holt's coordinates, toward the drop. Cass exhaled, shaking. Rowe covered his hand with his own. "Harrow 4's grave," Nico said. Kira didn't look away. "It won't be a grave if we do this right." Below them, the ice cracked wider, and the thing beneath followed.
Chapter 37. The Stalker of Symmetry. The helicopters banked low over the broken plain, following the jagged spine of the Harrow shelf. The storm had thinned to a gray veil, but the wind was rising. An unsteady, pulsing rhythm made the rotor blades tremble at uneven intervals, as if the weather itself were syncing with something moving below. Kira felt it before she heard it. A second pulse beneath the first. Sub-bass, felt in the ribcage, not the ears. The alpha entity. "Colonel," she said quietly, "it's coming up." Shaw didn't ask how she knew. He wore the same hollow recognition she felt herself. Once you'd seen it change to match you, the pattern stayed. "Pilot," Shaw barked. "Angle right. Set us down near the shelf break." The helicopter dipped. Snow rattled against the hull. Volkov braced herself, eyes locked on her meter as the needle jumped so violently it blurred. "It's growing," she said, "pulling mass from the lower fractures, condensing." "Into what?" Nico asked. Volkov swallowed. "Something that doesn't need to choose targets anymore." No one answered. Below them the ice shifted. Wide plates slid against each other as cracks raced outward, sketching shapes too deliberate to be random. Cass pressed close to the window.
"Those aren't new fractures," she whispered. "That's the old Harrow layout, power grid, access lines." "You're saying it's rebuilding the base?" she said. "Not rebuilding," Volkov said. "Remembering." A bright pulse erupted ahead, white, clean, rising. The pilot swore and jerked the stick. A column unfolded from the ice, not light, but geometry. Flat planes rotated in impossible alignment, always presenting a surface, never a hole. "Probe?" Rowe asked. "No, sensor. It's mapping the helicopters." "Break it," Shaw snapped. Drain fire punched through the rotating planes. The geometry shattered into shards that evaporated before they touched down. More columns rose. A ring began to form. Then everything stopped. No movement, no pulses, just pressure, thickening, compressing the air around them. Kira gripped the doorframe. "It's coordinating." Shaw exhaled slowly. This is the part Holt didn't get to record. The shelf ahead split open. Ice peeled apart, revealing a vast hollow beneath, black, domed, threaded with pale veins of light. Something moved inside it, not separate structures, one mass, constrained by space it no longer fit. "Down here," Shaw ordered. "We hold the ridge." The helicopters landed hard. Marines spilled out, forming a perimeter out of habit more than hope. Kira hit the ice, boots sliding before she caught herself. Volkov stepped forward, notebook forgotten. "Kira, look!" The alpha entity rose. Not a pillar, not a sheet, a polyform mass taller than any structure Harrow had ever housed. Thousands of rotating planes, each offset by fractions of a degree. Its surface was a library, ice fractals, grid lines, sound signatures. The ghost of Holt's diagrams burned into its geometry. Voices leaked from within, human, layered, misaligned. "Do not let in. We. Kira." Nico flinched. "It knows our names." "No," Volkov said. "It knows our patterns, every vibration we ever made." The alpha shifted, one surface aligned. It mimicked Kira's voice. "Stop." Cass stumbled. Rowe caught her. Kira didn't answer it. She only turned slightly. "Colonel?" Shaw nodded once. "All units, prepare." The alpha moved. Not toward them, around them. The ground flowed, reshaping itself, lowering behind the helicopters, cutting retreat. "It's boxing us," Shaw snapped. Kira felt the shift in the ice, the intent beneath it. "It's closing the loop." Shaw didn't hesitate. "Fire, controlled burst." Drain fire screamed against the alpha's nearest surfaces, frosted, darkened, fractured inward. For a single second it seemed to stagger. Then it reformed, flowing backward, recalculating. Volkov shouted, "It's counterphasing the drain!" Shaw swore, "All units, full charge." The response was immediate. The ground surged. Black glass geometry rolled outward like a tide. Marines went down, some frozen mid-motion, others simply erased beneath the surface. "Losses!" Shaw yelled. "Fall back to the shelf edge." Kira hauled Cass behind a tilted slab as the shockwave passed, teeth rattling in her skull. The alpha bent, an impossible fold, and projected a rotating panel outward. Images flickered across it. Echo Point, the crew, their own faces, layered and distorted. It was showing what it had taken. Kira rose into a half-crouch. "You wanted Holt's core," she said to Shaw. "This is it." He met her eyes. "Then this is where we make it heavy." The alpha leaned towards them, one vast plane aligning like a face. Kira held its gaze. "Follow us," she whispered. The ice cracked in a straight line from its base to her boots, as if drawing a path. Volkov's voice shook. "It understands intention. It's matching your vector." Shaw turned and shouted, "Retreat to the shelf! Move!" The Alpha answered, not with motion, but with alignment. We follow. The ground split wider, and the chase began.
Chapter 38. The Vault Below. They set down on what passed for stable ground. The last light bled out of the sky as the helicopters dropped into a jagged bowl of ice beneath Harold's shelf. Wind tore up the cliff face, carrying breath from a deeper dark below. The ground boomed under Kira's boots, hollow and drum-like, telling her there wasn't much between them and open water. Shaw jogged beside her, visor down. "Primary access shafts 80 meters ahead," he shouted. "Holt's deep core samples went through there. If it anchored itself anywhere, it's that shaft." "And we cut the cord," Nico said, hefting his pack of charges. Marines spread out among the leaning ice slabs, weapons low but ready. The wounded had been left with the second helicopter. Everyone else was here. Rose stayed close to Cass, one hand steady at her elbow as the ice tilted. Her arm was strapped tight, breath short but controlled. "You don't have to go down," he said. Cass snorted. "We're done splitting up." Volkov moved with her meter pinned hard into the red. "It's not tracking," she said when Kira asked. "It's waiting." The shaft came into view. Once clean and reinforced, it now gaped wide, its lip chewed jagged by subsidence. Ice along the rim was smoothed by repeated flow, something passing again and again. Nico peered down. "Feels like a throat." Shaw made the call. "North, Volkov, Reyes, Rowe, one of mine. The rest hold the perimeter and the birds." Kiera nodded. Smaller footprint, less pattern. They rigged the line and dropped flares. The light fell a long way before striking metal far below. 45 meters, Volkov said. Solid bottom. Kiera clipped in and went first. Inside the shaft, sound changed. The rotor thump faded until there was only breath and the faint crackle of shifting ice. Scratches marked the walls. Boots, crampons, dragged gear. Holt's team, climbing until they hadn't. She dropped the last meters onto steel. The platform below was half sunk into the ice, ringed by drilled cores like reversed stalagmites. Pale filigree creeped across the walls. Frost that wasn't frost, branching with intent. Holt gave it ladders, Volkov said softly. Every borehole. And it climbed, Rowe murmured. Shaw joined them, eyes sweeping the chamber. Direction? Volkov tapped the wall. There's a cavity behind this, bigger than the shaft, reinforced when Harrow was built. Nico was already working. Point me to the teeth. Volkov traced faint radial scars in the ice, support spiders. Cut these, and when the mass beneath shifts, the shelf fails clean. Including us, Nico said. Only if we're still here, Kiera replied. They worked fast. Charges went in at intersecting nodes. Shaw and the Marine covered the shaft as the filigree thickened, creeping toward heat and breath. Kiera moved her light across the chamber and saw the body. Dr. Samira Holt was frozen into the ice near a manual lever, locked down. Her face was calm, jaw set. She did it. She trapped it here, died holding it. Shaw dipped his head. She bought us time. Then we use it, Kiera said. The ice pulsed. Once. Slow. Inward. It feels us, Volkov said. Mass is shifting. How long? Shaw asked. Minutes, Kiera said. Enough. Nico snapped the last connection into place. We're wired. The filigree recoiled as Delta II brushed it with a low drain burst, shrinking back and leaving frosted scars. The hum in the walls tightened, finding a new note. Time, Shaw said. They moved for the rope. The shaft felt different now, air thick, motes drifting the wrong way. As they gathered at the base, the floor lurched.
Mass loading, Volkov said. It's under us. Good, Nico said thinly. That's the plan, right? Ro went first. Cass followed, efficient despite her injury. Volkov climbed next. Nico paused only long enough to meet Kiera's eyes. If it talks, don't listen. Climb. Kiera went after him. Halfway up, the walls pulsed. For a heartbeat, the ice looked like glass, patterned with vast nervous diagrams. The filigree was wiring. The hum rose in her teeth. A voice climbed with her. Kiera. It wasn't sound, it was vibration, replayed in tension. You did so well at echo. She kept climbing. Above her, Cass glanced down once. Keep moving, Cass said. You're not my favorite ghost. The rope shuddered. Something tugged experimentally at the bottom. Shaw, Kiera called. A hiss of pressure, a sharp, controlled drain burst. The tug snapped loose. Let it be angry later. Move. Hands hauled Kiera over the rim. She rolled clear as Shaw and Delta II followed, armor rimed where something had brushed them. The ice flexed, not cracking, flexing, like a lung drawing breath. Too much more mass and this won't be on our terms, Volkov said. They ran for the helicopters. Cracks arrowed out from the shaft, converging toward a point further along the shelf. Beneath their boots, the rhythm deepened. It was coming. Kiera's hand brushed the detonator. Not yet, Volkov said. We need more of it under us. How much? Nico panted. Volkov smiled without humor. Enough that it kills us if we misjudge. Ahead, the helicopters loomed against the dark. Beyond them, the shelf dropped away into blackness. The vault below was awake, and they were about to invite all of it to the edge.
Chapter 39. The Last Line. By the time they reached the shelf edge, the ice had already started to move. From above, it looked almost slow, a continent breathing out. Plates slid centimeters at a time, seams widening, pressure lines ghosting through the snow. Kiera felt the truth of it in her knees and teeth. This wasn't weather, it was weight. The helicopters set down in a staggered triangle on the flattest section Holt had marked. Beyond the skids, the shelf broke away into a slate-dark ribbon of open water far below, grinding patiently at the ice face. Wind scoured the landing zone, hurling snow like blown glass. "Move," Shaw barked as the doors slammed open. "We don't get a second layout." Marines spilled out, weapons humming as they took positions. Kiera pulled her helmet down, the world narrowing to HUD and breath. Volkov jumped beside her, meter pinned hard into the red, Holt's notebook crushed against her chest. Cass landed stiffly. Rose steadied her without a word. Nico came last, burdened with cables and charges. "Northeast quadrant," Shaw shouted, pointing to half-buried stakes. "Holt's mapped fault. We build the line there." Kiera nodded and moved. Under everything, the wind, the surf, the scrape of ice, ran the hum, almost audible now, a chord vibrating in bone. "It's condensing mass," Volkov said, "centering." "Good," said Shaw. "Give it somewhere to fall." At the first marker, Nico dropped to a scoured patch of ice, translucent and webbed with stress. "Here, chain the charges along the fracture. When they go, the shelf carves clean." Rowe passed him a block. Nico set it, adhesive hissing. Behind them, Harrow's field moved. Alien geometry poured toward the edge, not rushing, not hesitating, filling weak points like a tide. "We've run low on charges," Rowe said. "Then we aim well," Nico said. Shaw walked the line, spacing his teams. Irregular fire, no rhythm. A tremor rolled through the shelf. To their right, a city block of ice sheared off and fell. The impact boomed up through the rock, spray freezing into diamond dust. "That," Nico said, quietly,
but closer. "Contact!" someone shouted. The leading edge crested the rise, dozens of forms, each wrong, moving in consensus. Hydro drains spun up. "Hold!" yelled Shaw. "Make them commit!" They came on, light pulsed inside them, patterns folding too fast to follow. Drain fire tore holes, carved dead zones. Some collapsed and went dark, others split and kept coming. "They're bending around the charges," Nico said. "They know the shelf," Volkov said. "They watched her plan this. Then we lie, make somewhere else look weaker." A tall lattice lurched toward a thin point where 2 Marines were down. Before Shaw could swing, Rowe stepped out and fired 3 short pulses. The hits didn't shatter it, but it stuttered it enough to draw it. "Left, 3rd string," Nico shouted. Rowe veered. Cass stayed with him, hand on his harness. The lattice followed, calculus adjusting. "Now," Volkov said. A Marine lost a brutal cone at the lattice's base. It flash-frozen and fragmented, toppling into glitter that evaporated short of the line. "That's one," Cass said, breath tight. The shelf groaned, low, massive, not a crack, a remembering of gravity. Volkov went pale. "Stress lines are overloading." "Nico, status," Shaw snapped. "3rd segment armed. When it goes, it goes." Ahead, the mass merged. Several structures flowed together into a single towering form. The light inside it was denser, faster. Wrong. "Central node," Volkov said, or close. The thing reached the lip and stopped. Even the smaller forms paused, held in some internal command. Sound rippled through the air, language adjacent. Helm speakers popped. Holt's voice looped. "Down." Kira's own, stolen. "Trust the rope." Others followed. Names, fragments, echoes. "Don't listen," Kira said. "It's noise." The mass tipped, not toward them, but toward the edge, testing load, calculating. "It knows," Volkov whispered. "It knows what we want." Shaw stepped forward, weapon tight. "All units," he called, voice carrying clean through the chaos. "Hold this line. No fallback. Drain it dry if you have to. This is it." Acknowledgements crackled back. Nico's denectonator blinked amber. "We wait," said Shaw, "until it commits." The hum spiked, second harmonic. Kira felt it in teeth and bone as the towering form shifted its weight. The ice sagged beneath it. "That's it," Volkov gasped. "Mark," Shaw said. Nico thumbed the denectonator. Amber flipped to white. For a heartbeat, nothing happened. Then the shelf under the central mass turned to light.
Chapter 40. The Symmetry. The countdown died at 1. Kira hit the switch. For half a heartbeat, nothing changed. The world stayed exactly as it had been. White sky, black fissures, alien geometry rearing from the ice, while the helicopters crouched behind the ridge like animals that had wandered into the wrong place. Then the shelf moved. It wasn't an explosion. It was a sound below hearing, a deep bodily wrench as the charges lit in sequence, racing along stress lines Harrow's engineers had once drawn on paper and never truly believed they would use. The ice under their boots bucked. Cracks shot outward in sharp, radiating lines. A nearby structure froze mid-motion, its inner light flaring white before blowing out into a storm of glitter the wind couldn't quite catch. "Hold!" Shaw shouted, though there was nothing to hold on to but the ridge itself. The world groaned. A fracture opened along the horizon, wide, brutal, kilometers long. Snow slid into it in slow avalanches. Lights surged up from below, the pallid glow they had chased across the continent, now shot through with darker green, the color of deep water. "Mass drop!" Volkov yelled, staring at her useless blur of her analog meter. "We've got it. It's going with the shelf." Beyond the ridge, the Harrow field began to fold. Alien structures reacted in frantic unison. Lattices thickened, spirals flattened. Long anchoring struts stabbed into the ice, only to slide, each anchor point becoming its own drifting island. The shelf did not care. A slab the size of a city block dropped 1/2 meter in a single lurch. Fractures intersected, breaking the surface into tilted polygons, each beginning its own slow fall. Farther out, something rose higher than the rest, the core. It was too much geometry for the eye to hold, mirrored planes folding through one another, light pulsing in collapsing patterns as it tried to reconfigure faster than physics allowed. "It's off balance," Volkov breathed. "That's the main computation." The ground beneath it sagged, support struts drove outward like spider legs, but every contact point slid, every surface betraying it. For one terrible second, Kiera thought it might succeed. The geometry aligned, the thing simplified, collapsing into a single perfect configuration, a faceted diamond of black ice, smooth, stable, symmetrical. Then the shelf broke properly. The horizon dipped. Ice carved along the fault line and vanished into darkness. The diamond dropped with the slab beneath it, cutting a clean path through the collapsing field. Smaller entities clung to its surface, tearing loose as the acceleration grew. There was no sound from it, only light, flaring brighter and brighter as it fell, until the chasm whited out. The impact came a breath later. A green-white flash tore up from below. The ground jumped as displaced oceans slammed into the cavity, shock waves ripping outward and shattering more ice. Steam and shattered frost roared skyward, past the ridge, past the helicopters, into the low sky. Then the light began to die. Not all at once, in patches, in flickers, like a city losing power block by block. Kiera counted without realizing she was doing it. When she reached 10 and nothing brightened again, she let out her breath. "It's sinking," Volkov said, disbelief threaded with awe. "Below the thermocline, the structure can't hold together in that much motion." "Short version?" Nico gasped. "We're drowning it." Shaw straightened slowly. "Check sectors," he ordered. "No one assumes clean." The Marines swept the field. What remained of the alien mass was already sliding, bases losing grip, fragments breaking away and vanishing into the chasm. Kiera watched one spire tilt and fall. For an instant she thought she saw a familiar shape ripple across its surface, something like a face. Then it shattered and went dark. Then there was only ice and wind and the distant sound of the ocean reclaiming what never belonged to them. The ridge steadied beneath her boots. The hum was gone. Kiera rested a gloved hand against the ice and felt nothing answer back. For the first time since the storm swallowed the world, the silence held.
Epilogue. The world didn't end with a roar. It ended in silence. Kira sat on the overturned sled outside the temporary field tent, watching the horizon thin from bruised purple to a pale, uncertain blue. Morning, or something like it. The storm had spent itself overnight. Snow lay smooth over the crater where Harrow had once stood, a single, unbroken sheet. It looked peaceful. Behind her, one of the surviving Marines coughed into a mask. 2 others sat by a heater, boots thawing, faces hollow with exhaustion. A medic checked the pulse of the man they had pulled free in pieces. He was still alive. For now. Cass and Rose stood a short distance away, speaking quietly. Not the brittle closeness of crisis, but something smaller. Cass nudged his shoulder once. He smiled back, a real smile, unguarded. Nico sat cross-legged near the generator, tools spread in a careless fan. He wasn't fixing anything. Just moving, as if stopping might invite the ground to open again. Volkov paced the crater's edge, notebook open, pencil tapping a rhythm that steadied her. There was nothing left to measure. Still, she watched the ice, waiting. Kira understood. Part of her was waiting too. Weak radio static trembled in from the south. Shaw stepped out of the tent, coat pulled tight. "Amundsen's trying to raise us," he said. "No imaging yet. Just a pulse." He exhaled. "They don't know what happened." Kira nodded. "What do we tell them?" She brushed frost from her gloves. "Tell them we're alive. Tell them Echo is lost. Harrow is gone. McMurdo is gone. Tell them the anomaly isn't moving." Shaw studied her, then nodded once. "That'll do." Cass approached, her face pale but clear-eyed. "It's quiet," she said. Kira tilted her head. "You hear something?" Cass closed her eyes. Listened. Then shook her head. "No. That's what I mean." The hum was gone. The pressure. The sense of something listening back. Now there was only wind. Nico wandered over. "You think it's really gone?" Volkov answered without looking up. The mass collapsed. Geometry disrupted. If anything remains, it's deep. And slow. Nico grimaced. "Good enough." Kira stood, joints stiff, and looked across the white expanse. Then she saw it, a faint depression in the snow. Small. Circular. She crouched and brushed the surface clear. A perfect mark. As if something had tapped the ice once, gently. Kira covered it again. "Let it be over," she said. Shaw's voice carried from the tents. "Evac in 20. Birds inbound." Cass exhaled. Rowe touched Kira's shoulder, grounding her, then stepped away. Kira took one last look at the crater and the fragile stillness around it. "Let's go home," she said. If home still existed. The wind rose, lifting a thin veil of snow across the crater's rim. The mark vanished. And Antarctica held its silence.